We'll start with questions. Reverend Washington, please.
Hey, Fred, I want to ask you a little bit more about the Ramel Lloyd situation. Obviously the decision to redshirt him. I know a few weeks ago you were talking about him possibly being in the equation with the point guard depth. Did something recently change with how you guys wanted to handle him this season that led to that decision to redshirt?
Yeah, just a conversation with Ramel, and he'd had multiple conversations with his family on the subject, and it's just what is most comfortable at this time. Obviously, things can change, Robin, as you know. I mean, this isn't something that has to be a season-long decision. If something changes with any type of circumstance where we would need Ramel, talk to him about that. So just the decision at this time that the family was most comfortable with, and we'll continue to evaluate it as the season goes on.
And I guess I'll just throw out is there a Derek Walker update question?
Yeah, just Derek continues to be day to day, and that's all I'll say about it right now.
Yep.
Jimmy Watkins.
What can you tell us about Eli Rice, your early signee today?
Yeah, really excited about Eli, and he's a guy that we followed very closely this summer, and we threw an offer at him pretty quickly once we saw the type of player that he was, and very versatile, has great size. That's something I think when you look at this year's roster that we've talked a lot about, was the size and versatility and length that we have, and Eli certainly fits into that mold. He's got a really nice shooting stroke, lefty, and a guy that can finish above the rim, and think he has the potential to be a very good defender as well. So he's playing for a great coach, Jimmy Carr, down at IMG, and playing against a great schedule, which will help prepare him for when he gets here next summer.
Ryan Christopherson.
Hey, Fred, when you watch the film back from the opener, what do you think of your defensive performance? And in that like 7-minute stretch where they got kind of hot in the second half to start, did you feel like they were just hitting some tough shots, or what was kind of your thoughts after watching it again?
Yeah, I thought our effort and energy was really good from especially right from the beginning. Juwan set the tone for us, jumping on the floor. We've talked a lot about that, being the first to the floor, getting that loose ball, getting the timeout. Wilhelm had a very similar possession a little bit later in the first half where he got on the floor, which led to a fast break opportunity. Second half, they did a really good job of driving the slot and putting us in rotation. And, we made an adjustment as the half went on, played it more square and went to a little bit different type of defense, which slowed them down. The one thing I was pleased with, I thought we didn't get rushed on the other end. We were able to continue to score, just their 3 against our 2. And, once we, got a few stops in a row, we continued to execute on the offensive end, which opened it back up and gave us a nice cushion, there towards the end. But, again, I talked about this after the game. I thought Emmanuel's play chasing down after a turnover, getting the block, and then on the ensuing possession, scoring in the paint, to push that lead back up to 3. And then we got several stops in a row, which got us going again. So, I think for the most part, it had nothing to do with effort. They made shots, give them credit. Their big guy looked like Jokic out there in the top of the floor. Just, the ball was going through so clean, it was hardly hitting the net. But, give those guys credit for continuing to compete. Chris has done a nice job building that roster up with shooting all over the floor. And I think that's a team that could have a good year.
Thank you.
Kevin Seuss.
Hey, Fred, on the topic of pace of play, was Monday pretty indicative of what you want for your team this year, or what can fans expect in terms of the tempo in which you hope to be at this year?
Yeah, we're obviously going to run when the opportunity is there. And, I think one thing that you saw a little bit more, we were in more of a half-court execution situation, especially for a lot of that second half. And, Griesel, I thought, was terrific as far as getting us organized. Making sure guys were in the right spot. And then we had some good reads with the play within the play. So, just when we have opportunity, yeah, we absolutely want to get out and push and transition if we can get something accomplished before the defense gets set. But, I thought our execution, especially in that second half, I think we were 50%, had some really good looks. And, a lot of that had to do with Sam and when he was out, Emmanuel getting guys in the right spots. So, we're always going to look to get the ball at the floor, but, if the pace and, situation dictates to slow it down, I think you saw that in the second half where we were pretty effective.
Jimmy.
Back to the recruiting topic for a second, Fred. What do you envision your guys' plan for the 23 class to be going forward?
Yeah, I mean, we've had talking to a lot of guys right now, Jimmy, and just want to make sure it's the right person that fits our program and fits the system and the type of player we want moving forward. There's a chance that we'll have some visits coming up before high school seasons get too crazy. But we're talking to a lot of guys, but it's got to be the right guy. I mean, that's I think the number one thing when you look at recruiting is, they have to fit your system. And, we feel good about roster guys coming back, our young players, we feel really good about, as far as what their future holds. So Eli fits, we were really excited when he gave us his commitment a couple weeks ago, and then to finalize it today with him signing the letter. So, we're continuing to look at all positions, and, we'll see what happens, but, if they fit, absolutely we'll pull the trigger. If not, we'll wait till spring.
Is there a class size number you're looking at? Is there a area, your specific position or position group that you're looking at?
Not necessarily, Jimmy. I mean, you're always looking to add the best talent to your roster, and we feel good right now. Moving forward with depth at most positions. Eli gives us depth in our backcourt, which we're going to need with Sam and Emmanuel. Moving on, obviously Derek being his last year. That's something else we're looking at with front court players. So, as far as an exact number, no, Jimmy, we're not looking at that.
Robert Washit.
Did that opening night with the other games with teams on your schedule catch your attention, starting with Omaha with what they were able to do with Kansas, and then Arkansas Pine Bluff, and down the line? Did that make an already difficult schedule a little more concerning for you, just looking at it?
It wasn't a fun night looking at those scores. I mean, you look at what Omaha was able to do with a bunch of new faces. I thought Chris did a phenomenal job, and their staff of really putting together a very competitive roster. And to go into Allen Fieldhouse, I mean, you guys all know, you've been there, you've covered them, just how difficult it is to go in there, especially on opening night. After winning a national championship last year, I was really impressed with how they competed. That was a 7-point game with 15 minutes to go, and they had a breakaway, which they fumbled out of bounds, which would have cut it to 5. And then Kansas did what they do at home. They went on one of their monumental runs, and it's tough to slow them down when that happens. But I was really impressed with the poise that team played with. Really like, a lot of the players that they have in that roster with their skill sets. Their quickness, their athleticism. So yeah, that's going to be a tough one. And then just looking at those other games, I mean, what Pine Bluff did to TCU, had them down 20, I think it was 29-9 at one point. TCU comes back, a top 15 team, and beat them by 1. So, obviously we'll go one at a time, but yeah, that's going to be a tough one. And then Queens College, they go and beat Marshall on their opening night as well. So yeah, it's going to be a grind, man. Every night that we take the floor, it's going to be a battle.
Steve.
Hey, Fred, Blaze Cada, just where is he at in his development right now? I know he played around 10 minutes in the opener. Just what does he do well right now? And maybe what's an area where he really needs to improve on?
Yeah, the one possession that I really liked with Blaze, which we watched, had a good healthy film session, last night before practice. But, when he can get down the floor and get early post position, that's what we need out of him, to go up strong. He had a couple where I thought he faded away and avoided contact. He's a big, strong, physical kid, obviously being his first real game. There's always butterflies, jitters, but, he's going to learn from it and be better. After what happened in that first game, especially with the film session, and not only team, but an individual one as well, was really good in practice today. And, his, as he goes on, we're going to need his body and physicality. So, he'll be better. And I think his minutes will be extended as we go on. Big part of that was Wilhelm. I thought Wilhelm was terrific. We went a little smaller when we went to some switch type segments during that game, which was more for Wilhelm. And then when we played Juwan for a short stretch at the 5 as well.
Okay, Lauren.
Casey mentioned Monday a big difference already, that last year's team played more individually, and then already with one game, he saw a difference. Is that because of guys like Sam and Eman and Juwan, or what would you say it is?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it is, I do think we have really good veteran leadership with this team. And, you don't have one ball dominant player with this group. I mean, multiple guys touched it. Casey had it going. We ran a lot of actions for him. Sam, I thought had some good reads with some different cutting in some of the sets that we had in the half court. CJ had a couple good looks. I'm confident those will go down as we continue on. I thought Emmanuel had a couple key baskets for us, and then Wilhelm stepping out and hitting that three with under 10 minutes to go was a huge possession for us. So I just thought, the ball was moving, it was touching a lot of guys' hands, and we were able to capitalize on that. But I was impressed with the poise that our guys continued to play with, even when they were going on that big run that they did to keep it, keep the lead, never give it up, and then go on a run of our own to extend it back to double figures.
Jimmy?
Fred, UNO is kind of like the forgotten third Division I program in the state. You have some experience with that in Iowa. There's Iowa State, Iowa, and then there's Drake. You guys played them a couple times when you were at Iowa State. What kind of energy are you expecting from UNO as kind of like the little brother figure in this state?
Well, I know they're going to play with great energy, and I played against when Crutchfield was at Oklahoma working under Lon. I got to know him a little bit when I was coaching at Iowa State, and he's had some unbelievable head coaches that he's worked for with Lon Kruger, with Dana Altman, coming back home, now where he played. And, I know that group's going to be charged up. We have to match that. We have to go out there and, be a harder playing, more physical team. That's the bottom line. And it's what you have to do every time, especially when you step on your home floor. And, it's not just this game, it's every time we step on the floor. But, listen, it's a talented, competitive, athletic group. And we have to be ready to play from the jump because I know they're going to come in here and play extremely hard.
Sam knows what it's like to be on their end of it. Obviously, he's played in the Summit. He knows that team well. What sort of asset is he when you're playing a team like that, where they do have some guys back, there's some familiarity there, and just like he can talk to the guys about like, hey, this is how they're thinking. This can be a huge opportunity for them. We need to be ready.
Yeah, absolutely. And and being from the state as well, he understands it. So, it is whenever you suit up. I mean, I remember playing in games, not only Drake, but Northern Iowa. You play, even when we played Iowa, I mean, there's always something a little extra in those games. So Sam being a local kid, absolutely can talk about it. We've certainly addressed it with our team. But again, the bottom line, once that ball goes up in the air, is you got to go out and compete. You got to follow the game plan. You got to play within yourself. You can't try to do too much, and you have to keep taking steps forward.
Jacob?
You got 2 games now on your belt without Derek in the lineup. What do you need to see from the guys kind of moving forward to fill in for what he would normally bring for however long he's going to be out?
Yeah, I mean, he just brings so much to our team, and he's a great pressure release because he can flash and make a play. One of the best passing bigs in our league, and when you need a bucket, he's obviously got great efficiency around the rim. So again, I've talked about this. You're not going to make up everything with Derek with one guy. It has to be a collective group effort, which I thought we did that with some different guys that stepped up. Not only Blaze, but Oleg got some minutes in that first game. Wilhelm played a lot at that position, and then with Jawan when we play small. So that was the one thing, I've talked about that with this team, is you have the flexibility to play different lineups, and you have the flexibility to play small, and you have lineups where you can go big. And I think we showed that, in our last game, that we played a lot of different combinations, and, we found the right one, and that's what opened that lead up back at the end of the game.
Okay, we'll finish with Robin Washington.
Do you anticipate the same starting 5 tomorrow night, or do you want to maybe put Wilhelm at the 5? I know he played a lot of that look against Maine. Have you thought about what your first 5 is going to be?
Yeah, we've thought about it, and we got 24 more hours to think, and I've got another shoot around to go over it. And Jimmy, you're smiling at me for some reason, but it's going to be one of those things where we'll get it figured out by tip.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Thank you, guys.